Hi, this is Dr. DeMartini, and I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to these videos. From the feedback we've gotten already, that they've been helpful and inspiring to people, and so I know that if there's been some nuggets in there already, but I'm absolutely certain that if you take the time to do the master planning, you're going to get results. I've got 41 years of proof of it, and I can tell you right now that the people who have done it, I've been doing and teaching this program since the early 90s, and I've watched thousands of people change their lives because of it, so I know that once you put this into operation, you're going to say thank you. And I'm very grateful in advance of what you're going to do, because I know you're going to come up to me and you're going to give me a hug or a handshake, and you're going to say, thank you. This is what's happened to me since I did the master planning and got clear about what I wanted. And I know for myself, I work on it every single day. And I don't let a day go by without reviewing and focusing and refining and polishing and documenting what I accomplish and putting metrics in place. So I just going to encourage you to stay with it and focus on it and put this into operation and make it your life. You deserve to be a master, and you will be if you follow the master planning process. It's helped me accomplish what I'm accomplishing in my life. It's helped the people I care about in my family, and it's going to help you once you put it into operation. So stay with it, build momentum, and watch amazing things happen in your life by doing the master planning process.
Thanks so much, John. In this video, we're going to be going through and doing some master planning myth busting, looking at where people might go wrong and what the fix is for that, and generally just because people go along to seminars or read books and they take one single idea and they hold on to it, and we want to bust these wide open. So this might get a little wild, it might get a little bit raw and real, and so that's fun. And I'm just going to throw a bunch of questions your way, John, and so we can tear them apart and get to the goodies inside. So the first one that I wanted to focus on is something that I've seen a lot of people, like they talk about it and talk about it and talk about it, but I think they're putting too much emphasis on it. Do goals have to be in present tense language? Like, has anyone ever achieved a goal that wasn't written in present tense language? And how important is that in the hierarchy of between doing things and not doing things and writing it and all of these things? Can you help us put this in perspective?
Well, I think that if you have a goal inside your heart and your mind that is so inspiring to you, you won't let anything stop you from it. If it's aligned and congruent with your highest values, you will do whatever it takes to get it. That's just, there's no turning back. That's the day you make things happen. And whether you write it down or talk about it, you're still going to get it. The value of writing it down and concentrating it and getting it really clear and concise, it allows you to expedite the process. It allows you to see and work through in your mind the obstacles and come up with solutions instead of having to just face them randomly and react. You're preparing for it in advance. Now, if you can put it in a time frame that is now or realistic, fabulous. But there are some things that you'll say that my growth in my business is going to be 10% this year and 10% next year and 15% or something. You can put it into time if it's realistically needs to be broken down into time. And some things you may need to do it in the present tense. You look at how it needs to be appropriated. Because there's some goals that I have that are going to be progressive. As I started savings, I increased my savings every quarter, and I increased it. Then I reran a projection of where I would be from that quarter on, and if I kept that up. And then I did it again at the quarter. And I did a geometric progression, so I could see that in 1 year I will be here, in 5 years I'll be here, in 10 years I'll be here, in 20 years I'll be here, and I could do it. So my goal was, today I'm going to basically commit to the forced accelerated savings electronically. But as the quarters go along, I'm going to be increasing and accelerating it, and I will have this amount by these years. There's no harm in putting it into time. But at the same time, today, what you're going to do is you're going to put it into what's today. You may have a goal that I am now a financially independent individual. I'm now taking the action steps today that's going to guarantee and assure that that outcome's in place. So you can put things in time that are now and put things time into the future. You just need to be appropriate to what that language is.
Yep. Now, if someone is doing everything technically right, they're writing the goal in present tense language, they're doing all the methodology, but they don't go out and take that first bit of action, what happens?
It means that their goal is not it's not their highest value. It's not their goal. It's somebody else's goal. It's something they think they should be putting or ought to be doing, and they'll probably even hear imperative language inside their head as they're writing it. That in the master planning, I show you how to discern those that are injected by outside authorities and outside people you admire and fantasies from society and expectations other people impose from those that are meaningful to you. Because if you're not acting on them, it's not important to you. Nobody has to remind you to do something that's truly important to you.
Yeah, that's so important, isn't it? All right, next myth that we want to look at. Do you have to look at them every day?
Well, there's no have to look at them every day. I just love to. I have, if anybody knows me, knows my book goes with me. My master planning book goes with me wherever I go. So I love that. It's on my computer. It's on my, I update it daily. But nobody has to do it. If they don't, I mean, I've had people written down a master plan and a quarter went by and all of a sudden they looked at it again and go, oh my God, 2 things have already happened. And they go, I can't believe those things have already happened. They're already manifested. And then they have now a motive to go, I think I'm going to look at that a little bit more. I'm going to put more energy into it. Other people may write it down and look at it 5 years later. I think a guy on The Secret, one of the gentlemen on The Secret, looked at something and many years later looked and went, oh my God, it happened. So I wouldn't say you have to do it. And I don't want somebody to do this because they have to. I want them to do it because they see that it's a science of making things happen. And they want to do it because they want to master their life. And I don't want them to write anything that they don't want to look at. Why would you want to write something you wouldn't want to look at every day or wouldn't want to go focus on? So I wouldn't pay it like if I don't, I'm something wrong with me or I'm bad or I failed. I would just say you want to keep writing things that inspire you so you have a more inspired ideas that you're filling this book up with. And you keep wanting to build it up and you're looking forward to going and working on it because it's manifesting. Just put down what's true. If you do, you'll get things, you'll get an outcome.
Thank you very much. The next myth that we want to look at is that if someone doesn't achieve their goal, like they failed.
Well, if they didn't achieve it, there's only a number of reasons why. One, it wasn't important enough for them to go after it, and they now learned what is really important. They didn't chunk it down into small enough action steps, and they procrastinated because it wasn't, their time horizons were smaller than the size of the goal. The strategies that they had wasn't an effective strategy. They need to refine the strategy. They didn't get mentorship possibly on how they could go and do it. They just threw out an assumption about what might work. If they basically went after a goal that wasn't as meaningful as they originally thought it was, and something else more important temporarily came into their life, and maybe when that's passed, they'll go back to it. There's a number of variables on it, but it doesn't necessarily mean failure. It just means that now we go back and look at what we did and what would we do to refine it. Do I need to get it more chunked down into smaller bites? Do I need to put in a new strategy? Do I need to make sure I say, that's not really what's important this month, I'm going to do that in 3 months, and reset the time on it? Just use it as a refining process instead of a failure concept. Because failure is basically the assumption that you're comparing your current reality to a fantasy that you were holding on to. And what this is a basic refining process. You're constantly remodeling it. I mean, my mission statement that I started in 1972 has been refined 64 times. 64 additions. And that means I've added a word to it, I've taken out a word, I put in a little phrase, I put a little quotation on it, I tweaked it, and I constantly model it. And because I want it when I read it, I want it to bring a tear of inspiration when I read it. I want that's who I am.
I remember when I was 21 years old, I wrote I guess you'd call it a purpose statement or a mission statement. And I wrote it out. It was quite short, just a single sentence, because I'm a very plain sort of person. And I knew it was in the right territory. I'm like, okay, that's workable, it can go forward. And then I came back to it a couple of weeks later, and I inserted one word into it, and it made my heart sing. It was this most incredible thing. I was just beginning my journey of discovering myself, and it made all the difference. I could get up, and I had some real get up and go, because of that single word. I guess the point for me is not many people hang around for a couple of weeks to insert a single word in and play it back and forth in their mind to try and to get that right.
Well, I'm reflecting on my own journey, and I know exactly what that feels like, and I know that's the truth. If you sit down and you write it out, you're evolving throughout your days, and as a result, sometimes putting one word in there can bring a tear to the eye and go, that's it.
Yep.
Sometimes rephrasing it just a certain way, boom, now it's alive. If a mission statement is not alive when you read it, you can't wait to read it, and it's really describing who you want to be and how you want to live, it's not a mission statement.
Yeah. So I guess we've been talking about our next myth here, is that people need to get it right.
Well, when I teach the breakthrough experience and master planning, I tell people that give yourself permission to refine this. And I pull mine out, and I said, this is a 64th rendition. When I first wrote it down, I wanted to dedicate my life to the study of universal laws as it relates to mind, body, and spirit, to travel the world, step foot in every country on the face of the earth, and share my research findings with people and help people live magnificent, inspired lives. Basic sentence, right? Now it's a full page. It's very clear, very concise. It's in all 7 areas. It's very more and more meaty. And when I read it, it wells me up today just as it did as I wrote it. So, yeah, I just keep refining it.
How many more times do you think that you'll refine it?
I have no doubt that there'll be refinements probably within every 3 years. There's at least one refinement. Within every year, sometimes a word changes because I learn as I go and I polish it. So sometimes adding one word to it can make a difference, just like you just did.
So at Next Myth, there's a lot of people who say you have to take like massive action towards your goals, and they pump energy into it. Except that I haven't seen a correlation between this type of person and success. I've seen some people do it really easy, and some people do it really hard. Can you help us bust this myth open?
Well, I wouldn't say that sometimes massive action can't help you, but I wouldn't say it's limited to that, because I know certain people that just methodically tinker and keep tweaking and keep polishing and keep working towards their goal, and they get the goal. Mm-hmm. I'm more along that way. Sometimes I do massive action, sometimes I do little tweaks. I think it's like the weather. I think there's times when it's a calm and there's a time when there's a storm, and I think I'm sometimes in a storm and I'm doing a whole lot of stuff all at once, and other times that I'm just tweaking away every single day. But just like I think it was Collins who said in the book that overnight success is a 25-year project of tinkering.
Yeah.
And I think that's more real for me. I certainly didn't happen overnight. As I've gone along on my master planning, I attract people, places, things, ideas, and events that help it become real. And you develop after a while a social network, a team, people that help you. And it's not just your doing, it's your doing and also your influence on other people's doing that start compounding after a while.
Okay, next myth. A lot of people seem to be writing goals that are like the finish line. What's the remedy to that? And is that the case? Do you ever like reach something like finances? Do you ever reach financial freedom and relax?
I've met quite a few billionaires. I've interviewed a lot of billionaires. And I can say right now that I don't know one billionaire that doesn't have still anxieties relating to money. Because it's either estate planning that's a challenge, it's tax changes that are a challenge, it's people wanting money from them a challenge, it's charitable organizations that are challenging them, or it's maintaining it. You saw the other day a gentleman went from 34 billion down to zero.
Right, wow.
Like that, disappeared. His whole company collapsed, everything went down. He's going bankrupt, he's selling everything as fast as he can. So I don't know if there's ever a time where you don't have a next challenge. I think that's a fantasy. In my Breakthrough Experience program, I try to help people break the fantasy that you're finally going to be all easy, it's all going to be peace, it's all going to be pleasure, it's all going to be happy. These are delusions. And those addictions cause a lot of turmoil in people's life. Mm. I always say embrace the next challenge that's making you grow. And billionaires have new challenges. And they have challenges that millionaires don't see, and people with have $1,000 don't understand. And so they have their next challenge in life. I think that's part of the game. The money that I once fantasized about having, that I have today, I have new challenges, new opportunities, new exhilarations, new questions to ask, new master plannings, what I can do with that now. And so I don't think that ever happens where you're done. As long as you're green, you're growing. As soon as you ripen, you rot.
Yeah. All right, our next myth isn't neatly phrased, but hopefully we can bust this one open. I talk to lots of people who say, well, that's all great, but I don't even know where to start. As far as they're concerned, they're way off here. They're not even close. Their life is so filled with these impositions of other people's goals that they don't know which way's up or down anymore. What can we do to center that and bring it back to something useful?
Well, this is going to sound biased, because it is. But I really believe that I've spent 41 years of my life doing everything I can to learn how to maximize human awareness and potential. And I really believe that the Breakthrough Experience program helps people take all the clouds out of their mind, all the people they're subordinating to, and show them how to basically get back to themselves so they can set real goals. That's why I basically ask people to do master planning along with Breakthrough, because I know that if they do the Breakthrough Experience and they do the DeMartini method and they clear out their infatuations and their resentments, they're left with a magnificent them. Mm. Now, from that perspective, they can now master plan. And the master planning has all the questions in it. You don't have to know anything, but you can come to master planning and you're going to get some starting points. I'm going to give you 2,000 questions to ask yourself. All you got to do is answer them. Just like you're asking me questions and I'm answering them. All you got to do is answer the questions. And if you have difficulty, I'm floating around the room and helping everybody in the room, helping do it. So I don't see any reason why a person, no matter what they've been through or what they've come from, can't do a master plan. I don't know of anybody that can't do it. I haven't seen anybody yet that couldn't do it.
That's exactly it. And now, you're a very driven person, and that leads us to our next myth, that some people, even some people watching this video, would believe that they don't have the same drive or inspiration or motivation to go forward, and therefore it's not really going to work for them. I think this is a myth that we can tear right open.
Well, they do have the drive because nothing's missing in them. That's one of the exercises we do in there. Whatever you think is missing in your life, where is it? And whoever you think has something you don't, where do you have what you see in them? That's part of the master planning process, to help you break through that illusion. See, some people have as much drive as I do for teaching, for watching TV, and they're masters of it. And they can master their plan so they can delegate everything else so they can enjoy watching TV. Hey, I know a gentleman that actually built a business out of watching TV and setting responses and sending them off and giving their opinions on TV shows and getting paid for that. So there's people that can do that for a living. But if that's where your drive is, it's not missing. It's just in another area. But if you expect it to be in an area that's important to somebody else and not you, you're going to think you're missing that drive. Everybody has the drive. They just have a drive in the areas of their highest value. Once you set a master plan, you're doing it around your values, not somebody else's.
And the human body and thoughts and emotions, it's incredibly efficient, isn't it? We say at the Mindset Makeover event, like even people who are doing depression, they're doing it incredibly well.
Well, I always say depression is a comparison of your current reality to a fantasy that you keep being addicted to. And it's basically there to try to help you break your addiction to a fantasy and unrealistic expectation you keep imposing on yourself to help you get real. So that's even a feedback mechanism. So I think depression is still a strategy inside to help a person ultimately get more clear about who they are. If they do, they see it on the way and they don't let it get in the way and they turn it into an opportunity.
And how does master planning help with that?
Well, master planning helps you reduce the probability of having to be suicidally depressed because it's helping you set goals that are real. Because the second you set a fantasy and unrealistic expectation, you're designed to have the ABCDs of negativity that makes up depression in your life. Depression, I don't consider a disease. And I've written so much about this, that it's a biochemical imbalance, it's a pharmaceutical problem and all that stuff. Bullshit. I find that every single person that's in depression has unrealistic expectations imposed on their life or other people's life, and they're expecting a fantasy to be, and they're angry at life because it's not matching the fantasy. Master planning helps you master plan and set goals that are real so you don't have a need for getting depressed to try to get you to be real.
Yeah, and it's almost like the master planning event itself is myth busting. It's taking your fantasies and busting them up.
You're having to go to too much detail to leave a fantasy on the table.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Next myth. Do goals need to be only for you? I've heard lots of gurus talk, oh no, it needs to be just for you. Or can you set goals that involve other people?
Well, you can set goals at other people, but remember that people are making decisions according to their own values, and every decision they make is based on what they believe will give them the greatest advantage over disadvantage, greatest reward over risk. So if you're going to engage other people in something that you would love to have done as a leader, you have to make sure that they win in their own values in the process. So you have to set goals. So in the master planning, there's a section on that, a section on what are the people that are going to be engaged in your outcome and your goals, and what are their values, and how do you make sure they win in their values to help you get what you want? Because if you help them get what they want, you get what you want.
Because you've got goals with other people.
Absolutely. So you have to make sure that they're winning out of it, or it's not going to sustain. Sustainable accomplishments occur when you and them are both winning in the process. So you have to know what their values are and what's important to them, which may require questions, which is part of the master planning process.
Our last myth on this video is a lot of people feel like they need to do it by themselves, like that they've got the goal, oh, it's my goal, I'll work away towards that. Can you help us tear this one open?
Well, some goals you may choose to do by yourself, but at the same time, you'll limit yourself probably if you don't know how to delegate. And some of the greatest achievements occur through other people. I mean, Richard Branson has 300 companies, but he doesn't run every one of them. He has specialists running those people, and he oversees them with vision and clarity, etc. But look what he's getting done. 300 companies, one man. So really, he's delegated. He's got people who are specialists, that are engaged, that are quality, that know what they're doing, and he's hired those people around him, and he's hired specialists that are more knowledgeable than he is. And he even admitted that his dyslexia and his learning problems has been his gift, because it made him get intelligent people that were more driven to accomplish these things, to help him accomplish what he wanted. And so, yeah, you don't have to do it all by yourself, but some things you want to do by yourself. So discern which is which, and get the people around you. You'll get more done, and you'll get to do what you love doing.
Thank you very much, John.
Thank you.
I hope you've enjoyed this video, taking some myths around master planning and busting them right open. I'm really looking forward to our next video with John, which will be coming out to you shortly.